All right, so what we're going to do now is improve our subscriber so that this override only happens on our blind date page. So I have the code already prepared. I'm going to jump to the resource pack, and what we're going to do is open up step 19, blind date subscriber.php, improving our subscriber and inheritdoc. So let's compare this with our existing blind date subscriber. I'm just going to copy this and compare with the clipboard. So this is our original blind date subscriber. This is our new one. So this whole bit here now is being wrapped in an if statement, and what we're doing beforehand is grabbing the route name. And so as you can imagine, finding the route name for the page that we're currently on is really valuable. In previous versions of Drupal, what we would have to do is use arg, the function that would grab elements from the query string in the URL, and also the getQ variable in order to find the path of the page that we're on. And then we would match against that. Sometimes we would have to create these crazy regular expressions in order to make sure that we were matching a whole set of different pages. But if we have the route name, then it doesn't matter if the URL is dynamic. We can just have one route name that we match against, which is really useful. So here's how we get it. We use the request method inside of the Drupal class. And if we jumped to this here, I'm going to go ahead and jump. You can see that this is just a wrapper to the dependency injection container, and we're using the get function in order to grab the request service. I'm going to jump back to the file comparison here. So at this point, we have the request object for the page, and now we're going to use get, and I'm going to scroll over just a bit, in order to get the route name. Now, how we got this was a little bit tricky. What we need to do to take a look at this in order to follow this up to where this constant gets defined, you can tell it's a constant because it's all capital letters, is we need to copy this into the blind date subscriber.php file, and then that should allow us to use our command click in order to jump up to where that gets defined. And so once we have the route name, we're checking to see if the route name is blinddate.page, which is the route that we defined earlier for our blind date page. And then we're running the code that overrides the content and the status code. The one other thing that we've changed here is that we've replaced these comments above the getSubscribedEvents method with inheritdoc. And what this will do is when the documentation gets compiled into a format that's usable by like api.drupal.org, then it's going to pull in the documentation from the method that it's overriding. In PHP Storm, you can tell when a method is being overridden because it has this little green circle with the up arrow. And you can see that it's implementing a method in an interface that it's inheriting from. In many IDEs, you can see the documentation that this is inheriting by clicking inside of the inheritdoc bit here, and then pressing a key. In PHP Storm, it's F1, and you can see the documentation for the parent method here. Okay, let's exit out of this comparison. And let's copy all of this code that's in step 19, and we're going to paste it over the code that's currently in blinddatesubscriber.php and save it. Okay, let's give this a go in the browser. We shouldn't need to rebuild our dependency injection container because our service has already been registered, and we've only just changed some code within the method that gets triggered on the event. So we should be good. I'm going to jump back to the browser and refresh.